So hello everyone, I hope you're well today, wherever you are, whatever you've been doing. Actually, whatever you've been doing, you can drop now, because it's time for a little Dharma practice, a bit of chanting or reciting of Buddhist verses, and a couple of mantras, and then some meditation, and then we will continue the Dharma Talk. Of which at the moment I'm answering questions, but I'm doing it utilizing the subjects that these questions have to do with, and at the moment my song, the Enlightenment and the Teaching, of which I plan to do this week and finish off next week, and hopefully I've answered a bunch of questions. But once again, if I haven't answered the questions that you have sent, and you want more clarity, more elaboration, more detail, then just let me know, okay? And then after that, I will address a few random type questions related mainly to worldly activities, and then we will start another subject, which will be commentary on the Metta Sutta, the Buddha's words on universal love and kindness. So now forget everything I just said, and let's do the reciting of the verses. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from the happiness beyond suffering. And may they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I've to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayata Om Gate Gate Para Samgate Bodhi Soha. Tayata Om Gate Gate Para Samgate Bodhi Soha. Tayata Om Gate Gate Para Samgate Bodhi Soha. So now we can get ready for the meditation. So adjust your posture to the way that you are most comfortable and that is most conducive to the meditation practice. So initially bring your mind inside your body and we will release the tension from inside the body, or inside the body as well as the outside of the body. This will help us to release whatever tension we may have in the mind. Tends to have the effect of bringing the mind inside the body too, helping us to sort of calm or tame the monkey mind. It's always jumping from thinking and dwelling on the past to planning for the future. So release the tension all the way from the tips of your toes, up your legs, up to your shoulders, down to the tips of your fingers, and to the top of your head. So let's take a few moments to do this. But once you've completed this, then just scan your body once more to see if there's any leftover tension that you're able to release. And now place your mind onto your breath. Anapanasati, mindfulness of the breath. Breathing in your nose. Follow the breath as you breathe all the way into your lungs. And then back out your nose again. If thoughts or any mental activity arises, don't cling to it or grasp at it. Also, don't try to forcefully push it away or deny it. Just let it go naturally by refocusing onto your breath, by replacing your mind back onto your breath. And if your mind starts to become dull and sleepy, fuzzy, then wake it up a little bit by focusing on the breath more brightly. Don't try too hard, but also don't try too little. Not too much, not too little, not too tight, not too loose. The middle path. So let's practice like this in silence for a few minutes. And especially during longer sessions of meditation, every now and then just check your posture and make sure that you haven't tensed up or that you're not lazy with your posture, slouching. And also just check your focus of your mind. Make sure that it's on the object of the meditation. Because quite often we may start to follow the thoughts. It's almost like we're telling ourselves stories, remembering the past, thinking of the future. That's our habit to do so. So we should check our mind from doing this, and then obviously apply the antidote of replacing the mind back onto the object. In this case, it's the breath. So now you can feel very pleased with yourself for engaging in this, I think, say 4 or 5 minutes meditation. Of course, we're already meditating before that by releasing the tension from the body. And we continue to meditate now, but we switch techniques. Now we are working to develop universal loving kindness. And you could say also compassion, empathy, equanimity. By practicing metta bhavana, or meditation on loving kindness, or loving kindness meditation. Fill yourself with universal loving kindness. Have such thoughts as, may I be happy? May I cause happiness? May I be free from suffering? May I avoid causing suffering? May I be peaceful? Fill yourself with so much loving kindness that it now overflows and radiates outwards, initially to your family and friends, your loved ones. May they also be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. And gradually radiate further and further. Now include those you may regard as strangers. May they also be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. Now also include those that you may regard as enemies. Those people that you may find irritating or very difficult to be with, or maybe their behavior is very bad. Of course, you don't condone the bad behavior, but you do want them to be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. Fill them with your loving kindness. May all these 3 types of people from your own perspective be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. Now further and further still, include all of those living beings around your area. Whether they live on the land or in the waters, fly through the air. Whether you know about them or not. Whether they're born or to be born. Whether they're large or small, short or tall. Near or distant, from the point of view of knowing about them or not. As well as in distance. Gradually radiate further now to include all of those beings throughout your whole state or county. And other states and counties throughout your whole country. And other countries throughout the whole world. Initially those that you're familiar with and have an affinity towards, as well as those that you don't really know about and are indifferent towards, and those that for whatever reason you may have some sort of negative feeling towards. May all of these living beings within these countries and in the waters that join these countries or join the land throughout the whole world, may we all be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. And our other worlds throughout the whole solar system, and other solar systems throughout the whole galaxy, and other galaxies throughout the whole universe, and throughout infinite space and beyond. And also be present here and now to recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious body, Chitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of Shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. So I hope you're feeling nice and meditated or meditative. And during the Dharma talk, actually, you can try to keep this nice feeling, the meditative feeling, or the meditative mind, and then utilize it to hear the Dharma. Try to keep really calm, even if there's something that is said that you don't understand yet. You can either take notes now or you can review the video and then think about it later. And then if you're so inclined, you can send me a message and get me to answer questions on it. Or if there's something that you don't agree with at all, once again, you can send me questions on it. In fact, I like to say that if you don't understand something, and doesn't matter actually right now. You can utilize your ability to investigate, to analyze, to think about it, to reflect, to create some sort of understanding yourself, or, like I said, ask questions to get clarification. And even if you don't believe something, or you think something's incorrect, once again, ask questions, or reflect on it, or just let it go. It doesn't matter. Not right now. What's important is that you practice meditation, you live morally. This will help your meditation practice. Try your best to abstain from negative actions of the body, speech, and mind, and to engage in positive or wholesome actions of the body, speech, and mind. And then your mind will open up more and more and more. And then the understanding will start to become more natural. Okay. In fact, I'll share with you one time, and my mum was with me. One time I was back here from America and she came along to the Dalai Lama teachings with me for a few days. And on the first day, he gave a public talk, of which there were so many people there, they almost didn't allow the talk happening. It was apparently over the legal limit in the tennis center there. Something like 33,000 people there, I think. Anyway, with his accent, there was a bit of misunderstanding, and he said, "You don't understand something, or you don't agree with something, just forget. Forget it." In other words, but some people misunderstood the "forget" as swearing. If you can understand what I mean, I'm not going to say it. Okay, it sounds similar to the word "forget," and so. Obviously, I told Mum, I said, that sounded like, swearing, but it wasn't. But even if it was skillful teachings because he got their attention, So, and then a few years later, I actually I got sent, I think, an email by a friend in the US, the paper, I think the New York Times or something like that. And on the front of the paper, it said something like Dalai Lama swears at public address or something. So, and then of course I think the next day or something, it was corrected to say, no, he just said forget, FORGET. In other words, don't worry about it. Just forget about any worries about it. So I thought that was quite funny. And so that's where I picked up that from listening to him talk many, many, many years ago. He tends to say things like that at his public addresses, because at the public addresses, not all the participants are Buddhist, and also, you know, people obviously of many different levels of Buddhist understanding or understanding of the Dharma. And so he would say things like this, and that's where I learned. I thought, you know, that's a really good way of helping people to feel comfortable and not worry, not be down on themselves if they can't understand, or not try to fight against the Dharma if they don't agree, you know. So of course I don't say that always at the start of Dharma classes. If I'm speaking in the public, which is not the case at the moment, then I would tend to do that as well. Just share that with you. Okay, so like I said earlier, before we started the chanting, that we are continuing to answer or address questions that have come over time during the 8 or 9 months that we spent on the commentary on the 6 paramitas. And so I kind of collected a lot of them and are answering them under subjects. For instance, we started out by talking about the law of karma and so on. And now, of course, I'm answering them in relation to this song, of which now we're up to the 2nd part, which is the teaching. So last week we covered the enlightenment part. And this week we are going to start to cover the teaching part. And once again, I have these questions in mind to be able to address them and answer them to the best of my ability. And so the song goes like this, okay? The Buddha said, "Listen, friends, I have found the way to overcome old age, sickness, and death. Let me teach you, and if you listen, learn, and practice as I tell you, very soon you will know for yourself that what I say is true. All phenomena are dependent on conditions, cause, and effect. Ignorance is the root of all evil, and the cause of all suffering. And when it is replaced with wisdom, one realizes nirvana. Avoid all extremes, practice the middle path, the noble Eightfold path, which consists of perfect understanding, perfect thought, perfect speech, perfect action, perfect livelihood, perfect effort, perfect mindfulness, perfect concentration." And then what does it say? "Do no evil, do only good. Train your mind. This is the teaching of the Buddha. This is the path to enlightenment. And for the benefit of all, teach the Dharma, which is excellent in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end." So we'll go through this part by part. The Buddha says, "Listen, friends." That's interesting already. I have to give some commentary on that. He says, listen. Then in the next part of that paragraph, you could say, he goes on to say that if you put it into practice, basically, then you'll know for yourself. So this is the Buddha encouraging us to put into practice the 3 wisdoms, or the 3 wisdom tools of hearing the Dharma. That's why he says, listen. Contemplating what it is you've heard, or in the case of you reading and studying what you've studied, and then meditating on it to absorb your mind with the understanding. And he also says the word friends. I think many people probably overlook that and think it's just being polite. But actually, you know, the Buddha, fully enlightened being, is basically telling us at that time that we are equal to him if we realize our true nature. I get asked sometimes, you know, in the past, especially, that, you know, is it possible for women to attain enlightenment as well? And I say, well, what's the difference between men and women? Still human beings, still have the ability to listen to the Dharma, study the Dharma, contemplate, reflect, investigate, analyze, and then also to meditate and absorb our mind with it. Of course, we all have this potential. And some people may disagree with what I just said, maybe more conservative views, but I can't see how that is not possible. So anyway, Listen, friends, we are all equal. We all have the ability and the freedom to listen to the Dharma, contemplate, meditate. We all have the ability and the freedom to understand the Dharma and to put it into practice accurately, to implement it in our everyday lives. And as we do so with great effort, utilizing all of the paramitas, practicing the generosity, being moral, being patient, making great effort with enthusiasm, developing this concentration and developing the wisdom, we eventually can realize this, what we call enlightenment, or nirvana, or nirodha, cessation from the causes of suffering, and attain the great compassion, realize the great compassion, the great bodhicitta, unified with the supreme wisdom to become the ultimate bodhicitta and enlightenment itself. So that's only 2 words. So listen, friends, put into practice the 3 wisdom tools, and we are all equal. The Buddha said, he is nothing more than what we can be. Of course, we have to make a lot of effort to undo the knots that we've created over infinite lifetimes. The more knots, tighter they are, the more we have to persevere with patience, the more we have to make an enthusiastic effort to undo these knots, to uncover or unveil the ultimate truth, unveil our true nature. So listen, friends, I have found the way. So the Buddha, through so many lifetimes, as mentioned, practiced the Dharma taught by previous Buddhas, and he realized the way eventually to uproot suffering, to uproot the cause of suffering, the tanha or trishna, the attachment that is based on ignorance, belief in a self and self of other. To totally uproot this by practicing the Dharma. And so then he, later on in the song, of course, you realize this is giving some instruction on what to do. And then what not to do is included in that. What to pick up, what to put down, what to adopt, what to abandon. And so the Buddha says, I have found the way to overcome old age, sickness, and death. Now these are 3, but this covers all of suffering. The 84,000 different types and more, the infinite types of suffering that we may experience. But we can enumerate them as, first of all, 3, the suffering of suffering, so the obvious, the everyday suffering that we know about, the suffering of impermanence, and the suffering of no self, or the all-pervasive suffering, that all of samsara is pervaded by suffering. But we can break through this. We can overcome this. So you can say all of the suffering can be put into these 3. So dukkha dukkha, dukkha anicca, dukkha anatta. Okay, so the suffering of suffering or everyday suffering, then you have to look a little deeper to penetrate and understand the suffering of impermanence, then look even much deeper and realize that all of the psychic existence is suffering in a sense, it's unsatisfactory. And so you can also enumerate them as we do in the 12 links of dependent origination, pratitya samutpada, as even you can include birth there. Birth, old age, sickness, death, sorrow, grief, lamentation, pain, and despair. Some people say that birth is not suffering. You've heard me say this many times. A little bit of humor I use sometimes. But birth is suffering. The baby actually is not very happy coming out of the womb, I imagine. And of course, with the growth period in the womb, I'm sure there's lots of pain and discomfort, confusion happening at that time. And also for the mother and the father as well. There are a lot of difficulties and a lot of pain during the birth experience. And so birth is suffering, or unsatisfactory at very least. And then, of course, Old age, sickness, and death is included in the sufferings. As we get older, we experience more difficulties. Even if we keep good health, the body starts to become tighter, less supple, I should say, and so on. And we experience some sicknesses along the way, even if they're just small things like colds and things. And then, of course, we pass away. Well, now, of course, if we train well, we can have very peaceful passing away. So that's what we should do. We should live our life so that we can die well, you could say. Try to die without attachment. That's another way, actually, I'll share this with you, that when I used to call my master Chanting in the US, for a period after I came back from living there, sometimes he used to ask me, "Are you ready to die yet?" And that's got two layers of questions. One is dying on the cushion is, you could say, a Zen saying, Chan saying, that what's dying is your attachment and your ignorance. So we're totally getting rid of that the ignorance and the attachment that arises from the ignorance, and realizing, at least you could say, having some sort of realizations or enlightenment moments. But also, if you take it as a human life, the end of the life, am I ready for that? In other words, are you practicing well at why you live? So we should utilize this life well so that we can live well. But also when that moment does come, it's all part of the cycle. It's not as if it's something new, in a sense. You could say every morning we wake up, it's a new birth. Every moment, every breath, it's like a new birth. And so, but there's difficulties, there's unsatisfactoriness, and there is suffering there. And so then it goes on to say, old age, sickness, death, sorrow, as we know about the sorrows that we experience, sorrow, pain, what's it in order? Old age, sickness, death, sorrow, grief. In other words, being parted from what we find, what we love, we find pleasing, or even grief can include being in contact with what we find unpleasant, or people we may find unpleasant. So there's grief, lamentation, pain, and despair. Despair, of course, and lamentation can lead to even more severe types of mental suffering, such as depression and so forth. So anyway, we have all of these different types of suffering, and the Buddha is saying there that he has found a way to overcome all of these. Isn't that marvelous? That now we have a person who has realized it, gone beyond what we call sentient being, become a fully enlightened being, and is there to teach us. Even though physically it was 2,600 approximately years ago, now we still have the teachings here, and we still have teachers to teach the teachings. So we are very, very fortunate. And so I have found a way to overcome old age, sickness, and death. Let me teach you. And so Buddha is saying, I will teach you. And of course, the teacher, especially a Buddha, is going to have so much patience with you and make so much effort to help you to understand, even if they have to repeat over and over and over the same things, or even try to use different examples to help you to have some wider view of the meaning of the teachings and how to put them into practice, how to absorb your mind with them. And so let me teach you. And if you listen, learn, and practice, as I tell you, in other words, you have a purpose, you listen, you really get to understand the methods and how to put them into practice, and then you actually practice. If you listen, learn, and practice, as I tell you, very soon you will know for yourself that what I say is true. I like the example of a cake. Or you can use anything, actually. But think about it, if you want to eat a cake and all you are doing is looking at a picture of a cake, you'll never get to eat the cake. So you have to actually experience the cake for yourself to know what it tastes like and what the texture is and everything. And like I've mentioned to you many times, like if you want to know the ocean, you have to get in the ocean and experience it for yourself. So the Buddha is saying there, if you listen, learn, and practice, as I tell you, very soon you will know for yourself, first of all, that what he says is true. In other words, you can't just believe what the Buddha says, but you have to think about it, investigate, analyze it, test it. And then once you know that it's true for yourself, you're able to put it into practice with confidence, with trust, faith. And then you get to experience the results of this practice, the results of the Dharma path. So we'll leave it there for today. I know that we maybe have 30 seconds or so to go, and then we'll address the next bit next week. And as we come up to the part that mentions the Eightfold Path, this is almost like a refresher course that'll be when we're talking about that. Okay, so I hope you stay well. Please stay safe and practice well and share the Dharma to the best of your ability, either formally or through your actions silently. I rejoice in your meritorious goodness, as always. And